Hey there, Drawyah here, and welcome back to Microsoft Flight Simulator. Today we take flight in the Airbus A320neo on an Indigo Airlines flight from Chennai in Tamil Nadu to Goa in Maharashtra. So, flight time today is approximately 1 hour and 25 minutes, and currently in the heart of the Indian monsoon season. So, you're going to have some very strong rains, very low visibility, and very high winds as we do depart here from Chennai today. I do anticipate a slightly clearer approach into Goa, so we'll see how the visibility over there changes during the flights. But as it stands, it should be a rather bumpy takeoff, and certainly a rather fun one too. So without further ado, let's jump into the aircraft and set it up for our flights today. First things first, let's turn on the batteries, let's turn on the external power, and then call for all the services. So do Shift J for the fuel truck, and we'll use the ATC panel to use the ground services here. So first things first, we'll call the jet bridge, which is number 6. And then as soon as that's done, we'll go call the baggage trucks over. Setup today shouldn't be too bad. We've got a couple of waypoints to plug in, but not a super long flight today, not too long in terms of operation. So let's now connect the baggage service, also clear the master caution now the door is open, and it starts the initial information. Departure date is from VOM, and landing today at Vogo, which, well, I love that. VOM to Vogo. Plug that in. No company route, plug it in all manually. Cost next today is 5. And on the right hand side, let's plug all this in. So ZFW of 50.2, a centre of gravity of 23.4. Now when it comes to both the centre of gravities and also in the performance, the flex to temp information, I've had quite a few people ask me how I calculate that. So as well as sim brief, at some point I will do a full video showcasing how I use or calculates the weights for the aircraft, and therefore use that to plug into the simulator when I do fly. So tutorials are underway, don't you worry. But for now, as always, just a case of showcasing the aircraft as a whole, and eventually I'll go back and actually show you guys what I'm doing. So don't worry, I'm not forgetting about you guys. I will go back and show you what I'm doing. Right, so initialization sets. Now plug in our waypoints. And today we start off with, let's go to VOM, go to Airways, start off with Kilo Papa, KKP. It's going to be that one. That's then followed by BIA, Bravo India Alpha. It's going to be that one. Followed by Gunham. Followed by Pamto, where we then fly the Golf Alpha 393. Not in database, okay. So in that case we'll go straight to Timla. As I said during the initial live streams on Microsoft Flight Simulator, waypoints are fine, they're all there. Sometimes the airways, there can be a few of those missing. So in fact, we do have the Romeo 461 and Whiskey 101 Whiskey, which I didn't plug in, but the aircraft had found, and therefore insert those automatically for us, which should be good. We'll insert that and just have a quick look at the flight plan, make sure that it all adds up. That looks fine to me. So we fly kind of a southerly departure, fly to the west, and then slowly northwest as we then make our landing into Goa. So I'm happy with that flight plan. Let's go back to here and plug in our departure, which is runway 25 via the Colty. Insert stats. Landing we'll plug in later, but we runway 26 at Goa via the Timla approach. Performance next. No. Cruising actually, I haven't said that as well. So today we'll be cruising at flight level 360, so that's already been set for us, no problem. Right, performance. So We're going to use 2 flaps today for takeoff. Normally it'd be 1 flaps here at Chennai, but given the harsh weather outside, I do kind of want to stay on the safe side, and therefore we'll drop that a little bit more. Flex temp 78, and V speeds today will be 131, 132, 139. Right, that's our flight plan sorted. That's the FMS set up. We'll turn on our navigation logo lights, and at this point we're now just waiting for the fuel truck to arrive. Hopefully not too far away. Although to be fair, I wouldn't be surprised if it managed to get lost in this weather, because visibility really has been shot. Worst case scenario, we'll just use the in-sim menu to refuel the aircrafts. So alright, we've got another A320. This one just being a generic livery. Don't worry, looks like it has actually slowly calms down there, so perhaps while there is a break in the weather, there'll also be a good chance for us to actually use it to depart. Right, so presume the fuel truck's not coming. Let's just use the menu instead. So £16,418. That's 19, 16,800, 16,415. So 36% will do us fine. Close that. And yeah, it's now preparing the aircraft for departure. Have a quick look at the METAR here in Chennai. As it stands, winds are currently, we'll switch over to that at least, it'll be 1006 altimeter. Clouds at 2000. Broken at 10,000. Visibility is 5 kilometers, 5,000 meters. Ooh, okay, so yeah, currently 10 knot winds coming from the southwest, gusting up to 25 knots. Visibility, like I say, is 5 kilometers, temporarily 4 kilometers, bit of mist in the air, and overall, it's a very, very unpleasant bit of weather here in Chennai. So, we'll prepare the aircraft for that. We'll cruise at 36, like I say, so let's quickly set up the altitude meter there. And let us now prepare the aircraft for pushback. So we're going to push back to the left for runway 25. That means we need to turn the nose, or at least tell the vehicle to turn to the right. Start up the APU, give that a few minutes to warm up. We'll turn on the fuel pump since the aircraft has now been fueled. And in a moment, anticipate our departure. So just waiting for the AP there to switch from on to available. And yeah, see how that one all comes to life. From the outside the airplane as well, you'll be able to hear the APU starting up. And also some heat burn coming out the rear exhaust ports. Right, APU bleed on, external power off. We're now independent of ground systems. Let's now prepare the final bit of departure. As always, since the autopilot isn't quite functioning yet, we shall climb at 2,500 feet per minute on a manual climb out. Flight director's on, and that should be that. Right, let's disconnect the jet bridge. As soon as that's cleared, we'll then turn on the strobe and beacons to announce to the ground crew that we are ready for our engine starts. And then the pushback vehicle there will take control of our flights today. Please take us out into the taxiway. Right, let's call it over, shall we? You can see some of the mist, the haze there on the... We can't really call it a horizon because it's just right in front of us, but certainly a bit of low visibility behind those trees. We turn on the strobe to automatic, beacon lights on. There's some resistance to the aircraft now, so let's turn off the parking brake and start up the engines. Flying an A321neo, so flying an A320neo even, meaning that we start up with engine 1 first and then engine 2. So as I say with all my videos, the A320neo acts a bit differently when it comes to engine startup, where you go left to right rather than right to left. It's the only aircraft currently that does that, and therefore I'll steer to the right. It's the only aircraft that does that, so I'm not quite sure the reason exactly why behind it, but it is the way to do it. There's the Ground Marshal also following on with the aircrafts. All very good indeed. And then as soon as the number 1 engine has stabilised, we'll then go for engine 2. Right, push back, stop. Let's now start up engine number 2. We'll lower the flaps to 2 degrees. Set the speed brake, arm that, and then the takeoff brakes will presumably switch off as we take to the runway, and therefore we'll just set the auto brake to max ready for takeoff. That's in the case of a rejected takeoff, the aircraft will then be able to slow down. The rain has started to pick up again, so do need to be rather cautious with that. Visibility also growing much lighter. This is real life weather right now, so gotta be very careful with what we're doing today. Takeoff is actually going to be the most interesting I've done on this channel so far. Alright, engine 2 is now coming to life. Just watching the N1 there. Fun facts with Indigo. They are the world's largest operator of the Airbus A320neo series aircrafts. So they have 109 of these in service right now, with a further 223 of them on order, which for an airline that started in 2004 is certainly a lot. They've been a very fast growing airline, Indigo, and for the people here in India, definitely worthwhile because, well, wages, salaries, incomes aren't exactly the highest in this country, but with a low-cost airline and a new modern efficient fleet of aircrafts, it has enabled a lot of people to actually travel here in India between different cities, so certainly a welcomed airline in this country. So on the taxi lights, also turn off the APU. Certainly a welcomed airline, and quite a popular one to fly with, especially on domestic flights. Taxiing to runway 25 is not too difficult here at Chennai. Essentially, we'll leave the gate area we're at right now. We'll go into the main taxiway, which is going to be that one right there. Follow it along to the end, and then the runway is immediately to our left. just before departure. I'll definitely keep a strong eye out for any aircraft that are coming in to land or departing. Keep an eye out for any traffic on the runway. But for the most part, things should be relatively quiet here at the moment. And as I say, I do anticipate a rather turbulent departure out of Chennai, but as soon as the weather starts to clear up, as soon as the wind starts to die down, things will then start to nice up for us. As we taxi on the wet taxiway, a nice chance to actually look at the reflections down on the ground as well as the aircraft as well. And just overall, again, it's just a very pretty simulator, this. And hopefully as well, at some point, we'd also get a chance to see some of the scenery on the ground. Our departure, we can pretty much assure that there will be no outside visibility, especially with the current weather. We can see some of the palm trees and the buildings, I guess, but certainly not much of the airfield at the moment. And therefore, once we are out in over mainland, we should be alright, flying along the entirety of the country from east to west. Though flying... Chennai's quite south of the country, so Tamil Nadu is the region we're in right now, and that starts from Chennai on the east coast and heads right down to the tip of the peninsula, and also has the region in North Sri Lanka as well. Which, well, when it comes to Tamil Nadu in Sri Lanka, go back 20 years, things were certainly lively in that region. Fortunately, the whole Sri Lanka country is now peaceful for the most part, and the civil war ended in 2007, I believe. But for so many years, it was a devastating country to be through. And like most places, now that the war has come to an end, I think people on both sides are much happier with the peace. But again, political issues and all that, not something I'm particularly an expert in. But I do know quite a few Sri Lankan Tamils. Nice people. Very hard-working, I must say. Right, so we'll taxi to the very end of the runway. We'll give ourselves the maximum room to play with, and then departure will be in just about 2 more minutes. Even now as we continue to taxi, the whole airport terminal area and gates completely out of view. This looks like a smaller private stroke prop centre, so something that caters for GA aircrafts. And so yeah, once again, you guys be the judge. Does this look like Chennai, or is the airport once again off from what it looks like in reality? I mean, in terms of shapes and all that, the airport's pretty much spot on. It's made down to the actual buildings themselves that, I guess, disappoints for some people. So the buildings aren't quite modelled to exactly how they are in real life, and just a few things here and there that perhaps aren't quite so accurate. But again, for me personally, I've not really had too many problems with the default world of Microsoft Flight Simulator. Of course, there are a few areas that even I personally wouldn't mind seeing a few upgrades to, but also a lot of these places that third parties have been confirmed for. Alright, we'll hold short the runway here. I didn't spot any hold short point or green lights or anything below. Yeah, so we'll hold short here, we'll do a quick check of the runway. Nobody's coming in the left. We can't see a thing. Nobody's coming in on the right. All looks good. Let's turn on the landing lights. Let's taxi onto the runway. And let's enjoy this takeoff, shall we? Let's then align ourselves as the runway. Also slowly roll the throttle back. Perfect. Engines up 50%. 1 and 2 are stable. Up to flex. Push the stick down just to minimise any premature lift. Taking off into a headwind, but a few gusts here and there for us to stabilise. V1, rotate. Positive climb, gear up. Flaps up to climb power, flaps up 1. We'll get the overspeed alarm quickly, but that will clear up as soon as the aircraft realises that the airspeed has gone up with the flaps now being raised. Push down for around 15 degrees pitch. And there we go, autopilot, sorry, flaps up. Don't really get to see too much of Chennai down below. Weather won't be permitting that today. So let's head over to the autopilot panel, let's bring that active, and let's climb it around 3,500 feet per minute. Make sure that speed and heading both are going to continue on the current routes. And yeah, there we go. We'll continue now to climb until we reach our cruise. Breaking through the clouds now, so a bit more visibility outside the aircraft. And there we go. We do get to spot some of Chennai down below, so it's not completely washed out at the moment. So again, we've got 4 satellite imagery. We do have the houses that pop out the ground, all 3D. And yeah, once again, it's just a very nicely put together flight sim, that. And just the weather. The weather in itself is just phenomenal. We use drone cam. It's a little bit nicer. So, just about to pass 10,000. We'll set the altimeter to standard. I'm not actually quite sure what the altitude is for standard altimeter in India, but I'll just go by what we've done there. Landing lights come off. And now there's not particularly much for me to do now until we hit our cruising altitude. Or even top percent even, so as always, our rule of thumb is 80 miles for 30,000 feet. It's cruising at 36,000, we're a little bit higher, and therefore I'll probably push that back to around 90 miles. And then the approach into Goa should be rather nice today. I mean, time at the moment's around 4:30, so it's not particularly late in the evening, but the sun is going to be relatively low on the horizon, although I'm expecting to be up for the entire duration of today's flights. The clouds certainly do some effects on actually making the sky look a bit orangier than it actually is. And yeah, just a few other light effects in there as well that the clouds will be involved in doing. We're now passing through the next layer of clouds. This will be the 15,000 feet reported. After that, it's then clear skies, so you should start to see some of the blue in the world. Currently at 320 knots. Max speed 0.64. In just a couple of moments, we'll start a right-hand turn now. So we're going to leave our southerly departure heading and start flying to the west. Ah, beautiful. Beautiful blue skies. A little bit of icing starting to form on the tail there. Nowhere else particularly on the aircraft. I will, however, turn on the anti-icing, so wings, engines, and window heat. And while too much icing will affect our airflow and eventually start to cause the aircraft to basically fill out the sky, because, well, in order for an airplane to fly, you need smooth flight surfaces, and if they're not smooth, you break the airflow, and as a result, it just breaks all form of the aircraft flying. So we'll have the anti-icing on and hope that the aircraft doesn't freeze up too much. We are now above the cloud layer, so I don't expect the ice to be forming that much more now. Just look at that. Look at that. This simulator blows me away. How can they make something like this good and make it run so well? I love Microsoft Flight Simulator. So continue our climb, passing now through 26,000, flight level 260. Another 10,000 to go until we hit our cruise. And then it's smooth sailing the rest of the way. And of course, the rocking issue still a thing on the A320. Although that being said, we have had a few updates in the beta recently. It's been quite quiet from the Asobo side, so I think everybody who is running the beta at the moment are anticipating a major update for when the simulator does release, and so hopefully that'll fix a few of the jet aircraft systems and a few other small bug fixes and tweaks here and there as well. I mean, for the most part, the simulator runs spot on. It's just a few small areas that need a bit of work on. But as the simulator has gone on in development throughout the alpha and beta stages, I think everybody that has tested has definitely seen the simulator come a long way. There was once a time where you couldn't save your preset controls, you had to do it every time you started the simulator. That's fortunately no longer a thing. Jet aircraft systems were even worse than they were now. Half the airplanes we didn't even have. When the beta preview came, so when we actually got all the content of the standard edition release, I mean, we were certainly blown away by just how many more planes we got, and overall how good they all were. And so, with a couple of aeroplanes like the 787, unless presume there's like an extra level of testing which nobody knows about, stuff like the 787 and the other side Cessna private jets and a few other aircraft as well, the Cirrus SR-22, we don't actually get to play with until it actually releases. But I'm sure that Asoba do have their own beta team somewhere behind the scenes who are doing their own work for the simulator. Looks like a little bit of a bow there on the altitude. Passing through 340 now. So we stabilise the aircraft a tiny bit. Not too much, but just give it that helping hand. As we very nearly hit our cruise. Alright, so we'll do that. Bring it back on. And then just stabilise that. Cool. I mean, those clouds I am just mesmerised by. Unfortunately, I can't particularly run Ultra setting at its highest, but we'll give it a look. It will kill a few of my frames, but it's certainly worth it. Have my spec. Yes, we have dropped down from 57-ish frames to around 52, 53, so we have lost about 5 FPS by jumping up to Ultra, but even then, I mean, it just looks so beautiful. So puffy, so big, so covered. The future of flight simulation is right here, and just 4 days away now. "4 days until you guys get your hands on this. And I can't wait to see what content you guys do as well. I mean, I'm sure there'll be a couple of people who will start recording videos and putting stuff on YouTube around this platform. And I certainly can't wait to see what you guys can come up with. I mean, okay, we've had the main lots. We've had myself doing content, we've had Squirrel, Chewy94, we've had Frugal Sim doing videos, you had Air Force Proud, enjoyed his stuff, and you've had Nerd Cubed doing a video on Microsoft Flight Simulator. And, well, as always, his videos are hilarious, but once it's open to the wider audience, who knows where the simulator can go from there. And again, just the heat burn effect, so small, so nice, it just fits everything. So currently cruising at Mach 0.78 today. I don't think we're going to accelerate the aircraft like we have done on some of our previous flights. We shall leave the aircraft at its current speeds. Our destination is around 320 miles as the crow flies, so it's not the longest flight in the world today, but certainly, like I say, a chance to kind of see how the weather all comes together. Right, let's have a look at our arrival instructions, shall we? Yes, I think you guys saw that little stutter there with the pop down to the FMS, so we'll bring the clouds back now to their high setting. As beautiful as they are an FPS killer, so do need to be careful with that. Yeah, so sort our approach out. Going to land at Vogo, runway 26, flying the ILS. And, well, will be a Timler approach, which is not so much a start. But our last waypoint does actually hook onto that quite nicely. So if I go over to the plan modes and zoom in, so then go step by step and just kind of show off how the flight plan works. So flying as normal, we then make a left-hand turn at Timler, fly alongside the airport for bringing the aircraft around and then coming in to land at Goa. So simple enough flights, one that I'm sure Indigo do on a daily. And yeah, it's all smooth sailing at this point. The aircraft knows what it's doing. Certainly more than I know what I'm doing. So you can see there's a tiny bit of icing out on the front of the aircraft there. Icing is all shader based, and so they will appear in patches as the aircraft cools down, and then at lower altitudes they will start to melt and will just kind of disappear as well. The only reason sometimes it appears, sometimes it doesn't, all comes down to the one, the external temperature, and two, external influences as well. So if you're flying through freezing fog or flying through freezing clouds, then of course anticipate some icing on the aircrafts. But then if you're flying just through clear weather, no clouds and a relatively warm day, then there's no real moisture in the air to cause the icing to be on the aircraft. So at the moment there's only a small amount of icing, nothing that would harm the aircraft in any way. And if there was going to be any bit of concern, that would be that on the tail there, but nothing on the leading edge, which is the important bits. So you can see some gaps now forming in the clouds, and so the further we fly, the less coverage there is, and eventually things starts to clear out as we start our descent. So visibility starts to open up, and while I believe there is maybe a little bit of rain, a little bit damp, certainly not too much at this stage. Now then, with one weekend to go and one Monday left till the simulator releases on Tuesday, I thought I'd ask one more time, is there anything in particular that you guys would like to see? Tomorrow I plan to take the 747 out for a flight. The routing in particular I've got in mind. It covers Southeast Asia to an extent, but yes, that's what I've got in mind for tomorrow. But there are still going to be 1, 2, 3, 4 flights that I still don't have any idea what I'm going to do just yet. So any suggestions, then do please say. And depending which airports I guess get the most call-outs, which locations get the most votes from people, I'll then start preparing a flight for those. So for example, I know that Sweden, a lot of people are certainly requesting me to fly through, so I could certainly take a look at Sweden. If I do Sweden, I have got a route in mind that I could probably do. Starts in Sweden, ends in Finland, so perhaps that's one option. The Caribbean, I've had a lot of requests for the Caribbean, so again, don't worry guys, I am reading what you're saying. And, well, that's another one that I could probably tick off the list as well. Fly out of St. Lucia was the airport I think that's had the most requests out of the Caribbean. So, Sweden, Caribbean, another two that could do with a bit of filling. Victor Tango, India Victor Sierra, that's an Indian registered aircraft. And nothing particularly special about this particular 320neo. It got delivered to Indigo in 2018 and has just served flights since then, basically. I will say, when you think of airlines that have the most number of certain type, especially as an aircraft as new and modern as the A320neo, for me personally at least, I mean, I could be wrong, I could have like different preempts in my mind, but I certainly wouldn't have put an airline in India as the number one operator of the A320neo. I mean, they've got, like I say, 109 of them in service with an extra 223 on order. But, I mean, fair play to Indigo. They're a massively growing airline. Their fleet grows pretty much by the hour at the moment. And their routes list is spawning all over India and beyond. And again, they formed in 2004, so they are just a brand new airline starting to come to its end of their second decade in operation. And a right hand turn. Whoops. Yeah, gotta be very careful with the rocking there. Sometimes if the aircraft, it can be temperamental. I think that's the right word for it. It can be temperamental. So sometimes you kind of just have to tell it, you're in charge, not the plane. And then once you're happy that it will take over again, bring autopilot back on, and it will do the rest nice and smoothly. It's got a personality of its own, the 320. And sometimes it's not a very happy little bunny. Even right now, I mean, there is the rocking going on, but it's so minimal because weather does play some extent onto how the rocking affects the aeroplane flight. The sun's currently up above the windshield there, so if I have a look at the local time right now, it's coming up to I can't really set the time, but 10:47 Zulu. India is plus, I think it's 5.5 or 6.5. It's 5.5, so 10:47 Zulu, 3, 4, 4, 27, 4:27 local time right now, 4:27 PM. Again, that half-hour jump there sometimes throws me off when calculating the time zone here in India. There are a couple of other countries that go for an extra half-hourly zone, but there aren't many of them. Most standardise on the hour. So India is GMT plus 5 hours 30. I do anticipate a descent in around about 25 minutes or so. Let's have a look at the weather right now in Goa. Vogo Meta. Right, all Metsat, what do you say? Currently it is QNH1010, a few clouds at 800, so in fact clouds are a bit lower here than when we departed. A slight drizzle, but not full out rain. A small mist that also covers the area as well, so we'll see how the flight simulator shows the weather there. Although for some reason the weather information's 6 hours out of date. This report was made 5 hours and 59 minutes ago. Right, BBC weather it is. Currently it is some rain showers, 2 km/h winds. Yeah, a few light showers, but nothing too major at the moment. Perfect A320 weather. The airport now sitting at around 200 miles from us. And we've also got the miles down here which we can use to count, but for some reason we just don't do that. Because again, you know, I do what I do, I fly how I fly. But yeah, it's not a terrible flight manager computer this. Some missing information, but it does tell you what you need to do. So there you go, so we've got the frequency, ILS26, 110.3, course 259. No T communication menu, that's fine. Same as the main menu. Let's have a look. Decision height is 8,500. QNH was 1010. Temperature is 27. Magnitude and wind. We'll go back to the METAR for that, even if it is out of date. $27010. Right, that's our landing config, now set up for arrival. The closer you look at the clouds, just the more detail you can see in the 3D effects of them. And just the best they are. They're not completely flat. They have the bumps through them, they can ride along. And even down the horizon, you can see where it just raises and drops again. They're not flats. They're not billboarding, so if I turn the camera around, the clouds don't follow the direction of the camera. They're all separate entities, and they do sit on top of where they should. They can give your aircraft severe icing if you do fly through them and don't have your anti-icing turned on. They're fully volumetric, so flying through them blocks out your entire outside peripheral vision. And when combined with a nice quality aircraft over a decent enough routes, you get yourself a smashing flight sim experience. And then when you fly it over India with active weather, you get a full monsoon experience. I mean, that departure was certainly an interesting one. You can see, especially when I took off, the aircraft was crabbing along its departure there, flying straight, but aircraft angled towards the left as I try and keep the aircraft flying in a straight line for the initial departure. Landing should be alright. I mean, it's a runway 26 approach with wind heading 270. That's pretty much as headwind as you can get. And so, yeah, just should lead to a rather nice landing. I've certainly improved my 320 landings compared to the first two I did. First one in Inverness, second one in San Francisco. My landings in both Oslo, Gardermoen, and where else I did the 320? And somewhere else, I've now forgotten where I flew. But yeah, the landings are much smoother nowadays. Oslo, Gardermoen, and Beirut. The second landing was in Beirut. Next Saturday, I thought I'd advertise the little thing going on as well. So next Saturday, when the flight sim does release, I can't exactly remember what time it is, but there is a charity fly-in to Beirut airport. So you depart anywhere you want, but they recommend Cyprus or Tel Aviv, given that they're both relatively close to the airports. And yeah, you then fly in and out of Lebanon. There'll be a charity bucket fundraiser to raise money for the people in Beirut. They're sponsoring a couple of charities, so they have a few varieties for you to donate through. And yeah, it's quite a nice little cause, that. So next Saturday, Microsoft Flight Simulator, fly in and out of Beirut. The end of our flight plan now starting to appear down the edge of our ND there. And so as that gets to around 90 miles, 100 away, we'll then start our descent. 30,000 feet you can descend at a rate of 2,000 feet per minute in 80 miles. 36,000, we'll add the extra 10 for insurance. For the inset to the glide slope, I do need to be at 2,400, so certainly it's going to be a nice long descent for us. Goa Airport being on the coast, I believe, or if not on the coast, very near it, and therefore it's quite a low altitude airport. Chennai too is also a coastal city, although the airport in Chennai is a bit more towards the inland areas. What will you guys be flying first in Microsoft Flight Simulator? What will be your first aircraft? What will be your first route? I mean, you've seen my first aircraft, my first route and all that. But how about you? Open the floor. What are you going to be flying? Perhaps will some of you just be trying to figure out where I am? Using the map to kind of pinpoint my location and then just fly by next to me as I do my flights, because one of the features of the Microsoft Flight Sim is the fact that you can fly multiplayer with anyone anywhere. And so what can happen is, for example, if your favourite streamer is currently live streaming your flights, they can turn off their multiplayer within their own simulator, but you on your simulator can turn it on in a way that you can see them, but they can't see you. So it's like a one-way multiplayer system. And that way, what you can then do is fly directly alongside your favourite streamers when they're currently doing their routes. The multiplayer system in Microsoft Flight Simulator is a very smart one. It's very smartly built, and definitely a lot of fun to play with as well. Ooh, there's a gap right there, and it does go far enough to actually see the ground, so definitely keep an eye out for some more of these breaks. It'll also be interesting to see what old add-ons are compatible with this. I mean, Microsoft Flight Simulator does have a working SimConnect connection, so if there are any add-ons that only rely on SimConnect and nothing else, then it is possible to use them in this simulator as this is right now. We have got a lot of confirmation as well, so GSX has been announced, which is looking very nice. We've already got our first competitor as well, so first competition between GSX and FS2 crew better pushback, which both includes the pushback face capabilities as well as other ground services as well. So those two on the way. We've also then got FS2 crew as a whole as well for the 2 pilot operations. We all know about the PMG 737, the Milvis 732, the Hornets coming our way, the glider, all the stuff that we've all talked about already in the past. Orbex, they're a very welcomed developer coming to do some of the airports and upgrade those. And, well, their policy on giving discounts to those who already own their FSX P3D X-Plane add-ons is also, at least for me, very welcome. So I already own the London City add-on for X-Plane, And, well, it'll be a 40% off upgrades for Microsoft Flight Simulator. It's not the most expensive add-on in the world, so I do save a couple of quids. But, like I say, it's very welcomed. I have also noted that Orbex are doing on the side a scenery pack for London as well, so it adds all the skyscrapers and all that separately, which, well, if people buy it, people buy it. But, yeah. I like Orbex. When it comes to their packs, they're very high quality, and price-wise, they don't charge very much at all. Everything's priced in Australian dollars as well, so whatever you see, depending on your local currency, you can take a little bit away from that. But genuinely, Orbex's pricing and quality is very nicely matched on the market. A lot of respect for those guys, especially at the Flight Sim show, when they showcased Drawyah England for the first time during that event, and yeah, all the other stuff as well. Alright, let's now start preparing ourselves for our top of descents. We'll zoom into 80. No, we won't. We'll keep it as is. By Timler, like I said, we need to be at... Actually, what is Timler? We need to be at 2,500 for the approach. Timler's just saying 36,000, so again, we'll ignore that because VNAV doesn't exist yet. So we'll wait for the Timler point to be at 30 miles. So 80 miles, and then the rest of it should fall right into place. Almost there now. Almost ready to bring our aircraft in. Lower the altitude now to 3,000. And as the waypoint slowly appears on screen now, let's descend at 2,000 feet per minute. So we're leaving cruise at this stage. I should be landing in around 25-30 minutes tops. Soon be entering the cloud again. Definitely keep an eye out of... Ooh, hang on. One thing I don't check before I do forget. Camera. Apparently, somewhere in there, there's a window view. That's what people are telling me. Obviously not. Aha! Okay, you guys are right. I do apologise. We have got a window view. Right, I'll look and see if it's possible to actually kind of preset these as camera viewpoints. But you are right. External 12 and 13 do give you passenger wing points. I'll definitely remember that going forward. So how does that then work? Does it take over the main cockpit view? Reset vision. Ah, so is that drone cam as such? That's free cam. And drone cam gets replaced with external cam. Okay, that makes sense. See, even now, a couple months on, I'm still learning the basics of how the camera controls work in this simulator. But definitely now some food for thought. Try and play around with the external camera viewpoints a little bit more. So if I can go the descent, passing through 27,500 to 275, and now about to enter the cloud layers. So that's around 25,000, 26,000 even. Go to the external viewpoint as we do enter that. Ooh, and there's our first look at the scene down below. It's a river. Yeah, just watching the clouds there, just again the different layers, the way they kind of tower up upon one another. And visually it's beautiful. And even in turns, the aircraft's rocking from left to right slightly. I know it has got on the nerves of a couple of people there rocking for my viewers, but for me personally, I haven't taken too much note of it. I mean, okay, perhaps I've just kind of gotten used to it, but even when I first flew the aircraft, and even when it did its rocking the first time, I didn't take too much of a note for it. I just let it be what it was. Alright, now entering the clouds. Passing through 20,000, although we're getting quite close to the airport now. We'll drop it down to about 3,000 feet per minute. And as we get close to the airport, we'll then make finer adjustments still. I feel like we are a little bit too high at the moment, and therefore should use the aircraft's capabilities for our benefit. We'll also drop the airspeed to around 200 knots, because the slower we are, the longer it takes to go over a longer distance, and therefore, at the same time, just allows for more time to slow the airplane down and descend. Spoilers out, just help it slow down. As long as I'm passing around 10,000 the next waypoint, we should be alright. Also, I don't anticipate following the flight plan exactly as it is right there. I'll probably overfly the airport a little bit further, just to make sure that our intercept of the glide slope also makes a bit more sense as well. So a few small changes to our routing at the moment that we're going to implement for our approach. A vectored approach, just without the vectors. We all do it freehand. We're flying organic today, that's it. We're flying organically. We're free range. The Seal Authority has accepted this flight. Thumbs up. Cheerio. Tally-ho. Now breaking through the upper layer of clouds. We'll increase the speed up to 250 since, okay, going a little bit slow perhaps. Quite interested in that cloud there. Oh wow! So that's a lower layer of clouds that's actually climbed up far enough to reach the upper one. Oh, that is phenomenal. Hang on. Nope, not right. External camera quickly. We go to drone cam. And excuse the icing, but have a look at that. That is amazing. Let's go right past our right wing there. That is phenomenal. Unfortunately, the monsoon weathers do cause a lot of devastation to people in Africa. India. Where am I going today? Yeah, the monsoon weather causes a lot of devastation for people in India. But in terms of cloud formations and all that up here, this is beautiful. We're about to pass through 10,000, so we'll bring back the airspeed now to 30. Spoilers armed, descent rates up to 2,000 feet per minute. Landing lights on. And there you go, 240 knots. Spoilers cut. Going to have a left-hand turn just about now. We shall activate the approach phase. Full flap standing at 142 knots VREF. I mean, just look at how small this aircraft is compared to the weather around us. We are minuscule. And the weather is king. And we're just passing through timidly with permission through their land. This simulator's done a terrific job when it comes to simulating these weather patterns. And let me tell you, I've said it before, I'll say it again, Asobo deserve every bit of praise they get with this new simulator. Scale of these clouds is just colossal. So much going on in here. Shoots up several thousand feet and it's just... wow, we're right in the middle of this as well. It's crazy. And it all runs so silky smooth, it's like... I have no words. I really have no words to describe this. Right, the runway here at Goa is northerly heading and therefore, or southerly heading, sorry, which we're currently doing right now, and therefore it's actually better not to do this loop. Instead actually fly direct. So we'll lower the flaps down to first setting. We're ready to make a right hand turn, heading 310, selects that. We'll slow the airspeed to around 180 knots. Increase our descent rate slightly as well. I'll turn that on as well. Passing through 6,000 shortly. Go a little bit more to the right, just give us more distance to play with. 190 knots. Second stage of flaps. Down to 170. We are currently bang on for the horizontal descent at the moment. Yeah, the aircraft limit our descent rate to around 1,800 feet per minute descent, so like I said to 2,500, but it won't do it. We'll also take that down to 2,000 and level off at the 2,400 that the FMS does tell us we need to be at. Set the altimeter to 1010. So that's one way I can now go back to window view. So what used to be tail cam is now for me on the window. Let's limit our descent rates to about 200 feet per minute. Start a left-hand turn. Turn the localizer on. Flaps down 3. Aircraft will turn now onto the runway heading, so the lower diamond will start to centre, and then a little bit further on we should start to match up with the altitude. Turn the wipers on, anticipating some rain as we continue to descend. And as soon as we break the clouds, we should have a little bit of downpour. Not too much of one, but certainly enough to keep out for. You can see the wind flex there actually come into action. The winds are bending. Load speed to, was it 141 was it? 142. 10 miles, get it down. Flaps down to full.
2,500.
Spoilers armed. Landing set to max. Just bring the aircraft into land. So I'm now watching that horizontal diamonds. We should now jump onto that.
2,500.
Approach mode set. And now following the glide slope down. Keeping on my horizontal there, so we are slightly drifting from the glide slope slightly, but not too much. The aircraft will adjust for it. .5 miles to go. It's getting a little bit tense here because I genuinely cannot see anything outside. And I'd certainly like to be able to see the runway before touchdown. The ground is coming visible now. Got a few forests down below. Very nice. A few forests, a few houses. There's our first look here at Monsoon at Goa. Again, the aircraft has drifted slightly. Should make adjustments. Come below the cloud layer now, and so the main thing for me to watch out for is the runway guidance lights, presuming this airport has them. Still no idea where the airport is. I can see a beacon lights just appearing there in the end of the fog. It is. Autopilot disengage. Fly this bit in freehand because, well, a few high trees at the end of the runway, which I'm going to tip the airplane over and then just bring it in the rest. No rain, so obviously that has dried up a little bit. We'll turn off the wipers as soon as we touch down.
300.
We're committed.
200.
Committed.
100. 60, 50, 40, 30, 20. Retard.
And
5.
reverse thrust sets. Ooh, that was a landing. 80 knots, 60 knots reverse thrust cut. Hold the brakes and exits to the right. Well, how was that for an approach landing? I mean, okay, the trees at the end of the runway perhaps a little bit on the high side, but nothing for us to really worry about in terms of taking the aircraft in the manual. That stage of approach. And yeah, once again, nothing that the A320neo can't handle when landing. Visibility was shot until the runway came into view last moment. Let's put a bit more throttle in since we're not going to taxi too fast by the looks of things. Yeah. The approach was rather fun, and the overall landing, I can't fault it. I enjoyed it. Perhaps a bit too much. Right, so let's stick the aircraft in gates. And then let's prepare the aircraft for deboarding. I mean, massive credit to the pilots who do operate here in India. I can imagine that during monsoon season, it takes a lot of skill to bring these aircraft in, especially the Boeing craft like 737. It's not going to be easy to fly these planes in and out of these airports, and so massive credit to those guys and gals. Parking brake sets, APU running, turn off the anti-icing, And let's shut off the engines. Beacons off, strobes off. And that should do us for that. Yes, and taxi lights come off. Let us hook up the jet bridge. That will be ground services and jet bridge connection. Hopefully it's going to be close enough to the aircraft in order to hook up, which it is, and so we can now deal with that. Yeah. While I'm here, let's also connect to the ground power units, if that's an option. No, it's not. Okay. So, that was the Airbus A320neo. That was the Indigo Flight 128 from Chennai to Goa. That was India's monsoon weather, so certainly a lot of rain we had to deal with today. A few winds and rather fantastic low visibility approaches. Just overall, this was a lot of fun to record, and I hope it was a lot of fun for you guys to watch as well. At some point I will definitely do a few more flights within India, because, well, the varied weather definitely makes for some rather fun flights you can get here. And so we'll definitely try and get a few more of those out of here. And yeah, just overall a very enjoyable video to record. So, yeah, that was Microsoft Flight Simulator. If you enjoyed the video, then do please leave a like. If you haven't subscribed already, then please do so too, as the channel has been growing at an immense rate recently, and something I'd like to continue going forward in the future too. So, thank you all so much for the support there. You guys take care. It's now Friday night, and so we have a whole weekend ahead of us of flying. So, yeah, you guys take care. Have a fantastic weekend, and I'll see you again soon. Take care, and goodbye.